Hello, it's deadline day, and we are right on the cusp of the window slamming shut. I'm Trev Downey, that's Dave Davis. This is the transfer show on Anfield Index, and it doesn't get much more relevant than tonight, Dave.
Literally, I've even got my two best gifts ready for you. I've got my Roy Hodgson, and I've got your personal favourite of ready to go. Whatever
Tremendous.
it's ready to go.
Tremendous. Well, we hope. Let's get a few things out of the way very quickly. What is happening here is that the window will close during this show, as you are watching live with us. And wow, lovely to see all the eyeballs on already. Wow. Welcome to all of you. But what I will say is this: we cannot be definitive because things can still go through if what's the phrase again, Dave? The deal book is the deal sheet rather is still active. Once the thing is in motion, the actual deadline itself is sort of fluid. So you will know possibly as much as we do as we go through this. We're still waiting for the picture of Alexander in red. We're still unsure about Marc Guehi. We still not 100% on what's happening with Harvey Elliott, but we will give you the most up-to-date version that we have, and hopefully something will break live as we go. Dave, is there any real surprise in where we're starting? We're probably starting with the biggest transfer story of the entire window, because it's the Reds throwing their weight around, walking around with their willies out. Tremendous stuff. Who'd have thunk it, Dave, yesterday on the back of such a glorious moment where Dom pulls off a moment of pure cinema. We get the joy of the Isak almost dead, no, it's alive story breaking.
It was brilliant yesterday. I was at Anfield, and obviously you were buzzing afterwards, like the cop was shaking after that Szoboszlai free quick kick, and we were just ecstatic. And then even on the way home, was like, how long's left of the window? Are we going to get Isak done? Do you reckon? It's like, and then obviously, it's getting late, right? It's going to go down to the last day to get anything. And they all kept us waiting, didn't they? Look at that Ornstein bomber, Trev. midnight, 12:15 this morning, literally. So literally, like, I was trying to sleep, lads. And the best part of all this was, if anyone saw the Paul Joyce tweet, you could tell he was just angry at being woken up to have to tweet it, literally. Just
furious.
Newcastle Liverpool agreed deal. You might as well have put Newcastle and Liverpool agreed deal. Piss off, you lot, type of thing. He was not happy, you could tell, Paul Joyce in his tweet. But, I mean, people have I never heard this word come out before. 125 million to us, but the deal's worth 130 million for solidarity. And I was like, what the hell does that mean to start with? We were like, what is solidarity? Like, what, are we paying a transfer in goodwill or Klarna or something like that? So that was a bit of an investigation. But turns out that under the rules, the transfer rules, some of his old clubs get like a bit of a piece of the puzzle. And ultimately, it's not a transfer request that he's handed in. But as per this agreement, Isak's agreed to waive certain loyalty bonuses, which, to be fair, let's be honest, have been on strike for a while. So it seems fair in the grand context of things, doesn't it? It really does. But we've had the Mercedes veto. We've had everyone doing it. We are all like you, just waiting for that dopamine hit of when we get him in the kit. And for all that happens tonight, good or bad, let's just remember, as you said, we are walking around with our willies out on this one. We have dropped the dime on an elite striker. This will be epic whenever it lands.
And let's get into it a little bit, because you mentioned that thing that's out there confusing everybody. We're lucky we've got a lot of people in our combined WhatsApp group with the channel who can throw a bit of weight and expertise behind things. We had Mo and various others clarifying things for us this morning around what that solidarity stuff means. And like you say, it's basically him waiving his bonuses, which is going to save Newcastle some money. So it gets to be a sort of a window dressing for this deal. One way or another, it is all leading to, let's be honest, what has been, for me to witness, some of the most glorious mind explosions I think we've ever seen, Dave, from some of the Geordie lads. Having a go, they've decided that Liverpool fans are what they're calling E-Reds, and they are absolutely furious about the whole thing. Everything from we never liked him anyway, to compilations of all his misses being done by Newcastle fans, to we've mugged you off type stuff. It's remarkable. It is remarkable, and fair play to them. The levels of cope are spectacular, and I almost admire it. But the deal itself, Dave, let's again not underestimate this.
Nah.
Effectively done. We know this. There's no kind of scary stories emerging at the last minute. We're just waiting for an official picture of Alexander in red. And it is a massive coup, mate. Have a look at a side-by-side photo of all the wonderful signings that have been made since the start of this window. Include Mamardashvili if you want, because it's available to us now. And it's an unparalleled window. Marc Guehi will be the cherry on top of a very, very attractive cake. You have to say, man, after all we said at the start, we were so hopeful, and it did get dragged out. But here we are on deadline day, and I think we can safely say that I can safely say I've never seen a window like it, ever.
I agree. And I think, and obviously, people, we're the same as you. We're all touching wood. We're all hoping we get good Marc Guehi news. That's the fingers crossed. But in the case that doesn't happen, it's still been a brilliant window, hasn't it? It was well beyond people's expectations that they had. And we can all drop the but we'll sure. And I'm not saying anything to do with that at all. But this is just brilliant. Like, this is an elite striker. I mean, anyone who said they knew this was happening, Trev, is lying. Anyone that said they knew at the start of the window Liverpool would go over £100 million twice is just a big fat liar. Simple as that, realistically. Like, absolutely insane, the business we've done. And as much as we're enjoying this at the moment, there is at this time, people, just something to consider. There are suggestions that Ant and Dec and Jimmy Nail have arrived at Luke Edwards' house with a fishing rod and a bag of curry and Ralmo just to keep an eye on him. So let's not rub it in too badly just yet.
Do you remember when Gaza arrived with a bag of cans for a certain lad who'd lost his head? This has the same feel. And Adam Petruccione, man, you can absolutely forget purple dildos going anywhere near my ear hole. Thanks very much. But fair play. Thanks for the contribution, giving lads ideas. Again, it just feels like it's something that's worth dwelling on a little bit, Dave, because we don't want to undersell this. It's such a massive get for the club. And you know what? In the context of the win yesterday over Arsenal, the moment of brilliance from our improvised fullback, who looks like he could be a world beater in that position, the second half showing of Florian Wirtz, where he grew into the game, having really kind of, I think, given a lot of us a bit of a scare up till that point. There's so much to be optimistic about, man. There's so much to be optimistic about. And if you can fold in even Isak on 75% power, we're a scary proposition for anybody, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and obviously you want the two, not just the one today. And you're looking at it, and other teams will look at it and think, Liverpool haven't really been that great. We can be honest about that so far this season, haven't we? We've relied on individual brilliance in moments, and yet they're still 9 for 9, and they're still working it out. And you know they're going to get better. And even like you said yesterday, there was a bit of, we can play ugly like Arsenal and grind it out because that's what champions do. That's the difference between champions and second place. Now, if you stack Isak and others on top of that, what a window.
Now, you did mention that you wanted to have a little bit of a name check of ex-AI alumnus Sam Maguire. Do you want to throw in something here?
I am absolutely, after this pod, just for saying this, about to set fire to my face, but I do need to say it in all fairness, that because I've seen, as you know, there's 86 ITKs that we up to claiming this exclusive that had Isak and all that, and people had it this, and like, we've even had ITKs going, I spoke to his mum when he was an embryo when he told me he was going to start, you know, all the claims that are coming out type of thing. But annoyingly, I've got to say it. Sam Maguire did give us or suggest this to us in November time, and it's a realistic option. And as you know, it was a unanimous like F off. There's not a chance that is happening at all type of thing. So yeah, his head's big enough. And now, unfortunately, he's just one giant smug bastard, as we say here, really, isn't he?
Well, it's always, I always love to hear about this. I think it's faux tension between you and Maguire. I'm a big fan of Sam, as he knows, always have been, and it's great to be able to see the through line with this story from beginning to end. We'll pivot because we've already got. I think maybe we've been asked about 7 million times about Marc Guehi in the chat panel, so it would be quite sensible for us to go there next. As you put in the notes, this deal is on a knife edge, and maybe you might explain the reasons around that for people who are just looking at headlines and wanting to know, is it or is it not? There's actually quite a convoluted reason why this has slowed down a bit. You might explain to people.
Yeah, I mean, last night, and we'll only rewind that far, you see after the game, because they have a good victory, don't they, at Villa Park Palace, and Guehi's there and he's applauding the fans, and you can see Henderson and a few of the others trying to they know what they're doing. They're pushing him closer, aren't they? Like, go and get the applause because it's the last one. And then he kind of does an awkward interview with Sky where they knew what they were doing, but if this is your last game, and he's like, yeah, proud, and it sets it up nicely. And then you get Oliver Glasner's press conference afterwards where essentially he's the one that's drawn a line in the sand, hasn't he, to say, no, he can't go. It's as simple as that. We won't be able to get a quality replacement. No chance whatsoever. So then you're thinking, again, where does it leave it this morning? And this is where the Roy Hodgson stuff comes in a little bit, because positive Palace, they've already got Cambo, I think it is, the Toulouse boy lined up, but then they're still taught they need another senior centre-half, and Igor, as it were, at Brighton, which always makes you think of Frankenstein's assistant, really, doesn't it? But he's not. He's a big centre-half at Brighton. That looks like it's happening. You're thinking, brilliant. There's two. We're all good. And then all of a sudden, not that long ago, this collapses, doesn't it? A couple of hours, and we're told, no, he's now going to West Ham, where he apparently rejected them. So you're like, what the heck does that mean? And then Sky and Rob Dorsett especially come out and say, our info is, no, it's still going to go through. And then On-Stream drops the worst possible bomber about an hour ago, doesn't he? As it says on the screen there. He's undergone his medical, that's all good, but move in jeopardy amid the issues of finding an adequate replacement. This line I don't like. Talks now between the 25-year-old and Glasner to make final decision. What I don't like is, in the best possible way, Guehi's a captain, a leader, and a loyal player. We know that. And the fact that Glasner's got him in the room a little bit, it almost feels like taken, doesn't it? Or hostage negotiation a little bit. But it's the fact, unfortunately, he's actually clearly listening to him. And full well, we've seen the reports that there's tension between Glasner and Parish over this and how they both see it. I mean, genuinely, as you know today, a few WhatsApps back and forth, different journos and different people telling us that Glasner's basically put it on the line, keep him or I quit type of job. So that obviously doesn't work well. But at the same time, it's important to mention Glasner is one of the favourites for the new Leverkusen job, isn't he? And he's only got, like Marc Guehi, around a year left on his deal at the same time. And this is just, everyone's looking for a line into this. We are literally like anyone watching. It will probably drop at the same time you see it. For once, actually, you might get something or see something on Twitter that we aren't. We are all just literally waiting for, is Oliver Glasner, is Steve Parish going to greenlight this? Because our news is all done across the board from Liverpool and, medical to everything's done. But Palace greenlight it or they don't, Trev. And right now, bit of squeaky bum time for this one.
Well, theoretically, if we're going to go by tick, tick, tock, tock, it's 13 minutes and counting until we hear this, that, or the other. But like we said right at the start of the show, in case you missed it, these deals, if they are in train, can have a bit of wiggle room. It's not hard and fast. If there's a deal which is in progress, then it can have a little bit of wiggle room over and above the window closing. And it looks very much like we found ourselves in a situation like that because of that complication with Palace and their recruitment. And Dave, there's a little further wrinkle to it that I saw today as well. I just wanted to run this past you, see if you think there's anything to it. We're aware, aren't we, that a certain Ten Hag has lost his occupation, and Glasner would be, you'd imagine, a reasonably highly rated manager if he's working in the Premier League. He might be thinking, well, that could be a job for me. And then it's back to the parish him face off. Does he want to keep Glasner around, or does he want to keep Guehi around? What I thought was really important from what you were saying, I think it was Bill there was saying he doesn't like Guehi's silence. I think it was really important to double down on what you were saying. Guehi's character, from what we've learned, is that he seems to be a very good lad and a respectful person. And I think that's where the silence is coming from. He understands he's the captain of a club. He's not going to go around shouting his mouth off or engineering a deal. If it's being quietly done, he'll quite happily take it. And I think that's what explain his silence. But I would really worry, like you, that if Glasner gets a chance to give him the full, but you're the captain, Mark, I need you, Mark. Yeah. I think there's every chance that this stretches on till January at least, because who knows what the situation of the game, a state of play would be then. My worst fear is that he convinces Guehi to stay and then he bolts for Leverkusen. That's the worry I would have. Any further wrinkles in this? I'm sure you've been monitoring as we go. Anything updating at all as we approach the 10 minutes away?
Yeah, I feel like, who's that tit on Sky? You know, Harvey always checks his phone while he's online and goes, I've just got a track from... No, you haven't. So the latest thing, I mean, like, I'm going to sound like him, so you're just going to have to get over this, people. But Chris Williams, who is well known and well connected, that tweeted a little bit ago that actually Guehi, as we understand right now, and obviously unless something's changed, and Christ, I know I sound like Harvey with this, he's waiting for an update, but he's actually sat inside the Liverpool offices in London. That's where he is right now. Liverpool senior staff are actually down there with him in the offices because obviously the plan is for them to all travel back to London and travel back to Liverpool, isn't it? Sorry, together from London. But it's just that worry that, as you said, how hard will Guehi push, especially because he's in the last year, and you've seen the reports like I have, that in the worst case, he'll wait the year and go on a free type of thing. But we want him now, and I can see that also people just giving updates as well. As long as that deal sheet is in by 7 p.m, you feel like a countdown clock, like a Vorderman off Wish.com, 2 hours to complete the deal. So if we don't get it exactly at 7, we don't panic. But yeah, with this one, I actually think it's a coin toss. I'm hoping Parish just kind of overrules Glasner a little bit. But yeah, I really don't know. I wouldn't bet either way on this, Trev.
Well, we will let this run a little bit until the end of the Liverpool section and revisit it, because there's obviously a direct contributing situation going on. We saw yesterday Joe Gomez take the field, and he outstatted everybody in defence in the short period of time he was on the pitch. He was immense when he came on. Absolutely immense. Just looked like a colossus striding around the place. Brilliant. And exactly the Joe Gomez that we have seen be part of a defensive partnership that's powered to the first league title of recent years under Klopp back in 2020. That guy is as good as there is in Europe. And there was a little echo of him yesterday. And then all of a sudden we woke up to stories about Big Joe Gomez and AC Milan. Now, walk us through how that has developed, please.
I must admit, when I first saw this on Sunday morning, and I did Saturday, Daily Red, and I was like, this just sounds like one of those nonsense show last-minute rumours where people have just thrown things together and we'll see if anything comes of it, but not really believing it. And all of a sudden it's like, no, this is real. And then everyone's talking about it, and AC Milan officials are in Liverpool. They're trying to do the deal. And it seemed pretty much that it came out unanimously. If the man on screen Guehi deal is done, Joe Gomez would depart, wouldn't he? That would be it. And we're thinking, I like the idea of 5 centre-halves or Gomez being able to cover right back, left back, and all the things he could do. I really like that. But Liverpool did seem quite happy. Now, there's a couple of things on this because I've seen different reports and had to do some digging because a few reported, as we spoke earlier, Liverpool have pulled the plug on this. Actually, not at all. Liverpool have not for 1 second pulled the plug on this. AC Milan have because of the time. In fact, Milan wanted him out. We're talking about using Liverpool's facilities, at the Spire and different places to do the medical. But Milan ultimately made the decision they wanted him back in Milan to do their full medical test because, with the greatest respect to Gomez, the injury history is pretty horrendous, isn't it? You'd want to check both knees, all the different bits, even if it is around 13 million, that 13 million that was set to get paid. So they looked at it and just realised with the time that was ticking down, they were not going to have the time to do all the medical checks they wanted. So they pulled out the Gomez deal. And in fact, I actually think they've done another one tonight already. They've got one lined up. So yeah, that's all that's really stopped Joe Gomez now being in Milan. Time.
Okay, that's remarkable. And we need to pause and analyse that for a second, because the reality there is Liverpool were more than willing, on the back of yesterday's incredible little showing and all his service, to let Joe Gomez go permanently from Anfield today with a pat on the back and thanks, Joe, for all your endeavours and all the best in the future. Okay, that's that. Can we just lodge that there to one side for a second? Which means they were tremendously confident about the Marc Guehi deal going through. The fact that it has not now happened for Joe Gomez, and we have parallel this ongoing uncertainty around Guehi, I don't know where you are with this, but my idea was we'd look absolutely fantastic and league title winning depth if we had Joe Gomez plus Guehi. That's where I was. Way too many people are talking about this Leone kid. I was cringing for some people who keep showing pictures of a lad in his gym gear going, "Oh, look at him, he's a unit." Would you relax? He's a child. Maybe he'll be good, maybe he won't. Maybe he'll be immense from minute one, maybe he won't. You do not roll the dice on that if you are looking to win a championship now, and you are doing the level of recruitment we're doing to maximise Mo Salah and Alisson Becker and Virgil van Dijk. So what you do is you get plug and play merchants. That's Marc Guehi. That's Joe Gomez when he's fit to plug and play. So I'm very confused, man. I'm really confused because it looks like they were happy to go ahead with Guehi, Van Dijk, and what had until yesterday been a really unsettled Ibu Konate with only Leone and short arse Endo as centre half cover. Am I reading that wrong?
No, I think it's probably the best thing we can say is we obviously trust the people in charge and obviously done a brilliant job, but I think the people in charge are reading it a bit different to us because we were looking and thinking, okay, well, what about right back as well? Because Gomez can cover there and Jeremy Frimpong's just had his injury. We're also hearing Frimpong's supposed to be covering Salah, for AFCON and any potential games as well. Conor Bradley's injury record is sketchy, it's fair to say as well, isn't it? At the same time, you've also got, in certain situations, Gomez could cover at left back in an emergency, but also it would give us options if you wanted to, say, away at the Emirates, for instance. You might have him in a back four, when you end up with 3 centre-halves on the pitch. It would just give you so many options and you were covered that way. And the fact, and this sounds absolutely horrible, he didn't play that many minutes as well, so he wouldn't be as there as pressure. He's almost as a cover option, isn't he, at the same time? And it was like a Joe Gomez safety blanket who could roll back the dice or roll back the days like he did yesterday, as you said. So, yeah, I can only think, and again, this is thinking, trying to see it from the club's eyes, they do think 3 senior centre-halves, and they do obviously themselves rate this Leone kid that highly, and maybe, we can't pretend we watched him intimately, but he's in the Italy squad, isn't he? He's been called up to the senior squad, so, it'll be interesting to see how he does there. But Yeah, and I mean, literally, I actually sound, apologies, guys, like that Cave tip, but literally, Ed Aarons has tweeted a short while ago saying Palace are expected to complete the signing of that Cambo, the young centre-half as well, before the deadline. So hopefully that will be enough as well. But I love the idea of 5 centre-halves, like you said, a collection of players, because we need to win now. We're getting all the big prizes now. I want to see Marc Guehi here, but, if it is sort of next summer or January, just takes a bit of an edge off it, doesn't it?
It does. There's so many different angles I want to leave and tying them right here for the Liverpool section. And just by the way, Joseph Gerges there was wondering if I'm ever going to start a UFO podcast. It wouldn't be weird enough. Not after a summer of hearing about players' Maz, and Dave's always got some of the best ever soap opera style. It just wouldn't be weird enough. So no. We should go next to players who are hanging around before we go to a player that we're fairly certain is on his way out. But again, it's up in the air. So you've mentioned here that there was... we're fairly certain now that the likes of Dans and Bajcetic are hanging about. But realistically speaking, do we expect either of them to feature much in first team squad?
No, and it sounds like, really cruel on that. But as we said in the last show, the info's the same. Bajcetic is being kept around because of his rehab, and he's going to play the Tyler Morton role from last season, break glass in case of emergencies. There has been suggestions or links that because Jayden Dan's staying, he's going to get minutes. And no, it's basically just to conduct his rehab, and they think that's the best process, a little bit of asset protection. And if anyone's doubting that, they sent him on loan to Sunderland last season, didn't they? And, we didn't play a minute because of his injuries and back. Cade Gordon could get a loan, and I feel sorry for Cade Gordon because injuries have robbed him of his potential. And I'm not trying to be derogatory, but I think it says it all that he's potentially going on loan to Blackpool, of all places. I mean, Reece Williams, people will probably forget he's still a Liverpool player in that regard. It was Morecambe last time on loan, but they obviously had all their financial issues at that. Little update, and I know I sound like that Carve tip, but it is a good one. Mike McGrath from The Telegraph has tweeted a very short while ago, deal sheet set to be submitted for Guehi, but it's still in the balance. The medical's completed. We obviously want it to happen. So the deal sheet has been submitted. So it's going past that. We're all waiting, same as that. It's just Palace have still got to green light it. But the deal sheet for Marc Guehi, so that 2-hour clock, is now ticking, people.
In terms of the surprise extra one that the greediest of us were wondering about, because there were a few people who had floated it out there, that Liverpool were still thinking about maybe one extra one as well. Do you have any sort of sense, even in your wildest dreams, that there could be a little surprise at the end here? For example, we remember, don't we, there was a Rafa Leao's story, amongst others. Are you hearing anything about that extra attacker, the really fanciful one that we were all massively invested in the concept of, was Morgan Rogers? So talk to us around about any extra business before we go to Harvey Elliott.
Yeah, and maybe we were just being too greedy, don't get me wrong, but there was various outlets reported it. Sky had it as well. Mentioned Liverpool were looking at that versatile attacker, weren't they, that could play across the front line and give them real options that way. I think the most interesting thing was, everyone will know, and we'll get to the Harvey Elliott deal when we start to talk about Villa as well and other Premier League moves, but the price of that, wasn't it? And those bits, and thinking, is that going to be used as leverage? I just think because the Isak deal, as we said, has been completed so late, Liverpool never had it locked in to know what was left in the pot. They also, obviously, are scrambling around now, and there's official Liverpool senior staff waiting in the London offices with Marc Guehi as well. So I think, when it just got like two spread, as good as they all are, you can only multitask to a certain extent. And I think time and everything else just caught up with it.
So we should go now to the Harvey Elliott story. That seem okay to you? Let's dive into that one. But before we do, man, if we were to say the things as they stand now, and we're taking it as read because there's no stories or any hiccups around the Isak thing. We're taking it as read that that's done. We still want that picture desperately. Is this a decent window the way things have worked out in the last minute with Joe hanging around? Are you content to roll into the season? Are you giddy to roll into the season? Does it take away a little bit if we don't have Guehi from the magnificence of the window overall? Like, just if we were to judge the window as things stand currently, allowing that Isak is a red, what is your assessment of that window?
Oh, I think more than content. Right now, the best analogy I can use is this is when I first discovered things like FXM and Maxim magazine when I was a bit younger. If we get Guehi, this is when you first found things like Pornhub and discovered college ed dorm party searches and things like that. This is like literally, you've got to be honest. This is beyond people's wildest dreams on this. Honestly, anyone who stacked up, and I'd just call them a liar to their faces, who said, in this window, we're going to get Isak, a top striker, Florian Wirtz, who everyone in Europe's afterwards, and Nketiah, was the option who you thought would probably lead it, but, might well, we don't know, could be even the backup, the alternate left, we'll have to see. You'd get Kirkes, you'd get Frimpong, Marmadash, all those signings, and the amount we spent, which is just atypical of anything else FSG had done before. Anyone who said they knew that was happening is just an absolute liar, straightforward as that. The only good news just coming in, which I hope will play a key part, and I'm hoping can bring Glasner down from the ledge type of thing, is Cambo has been confirmed for Palace. So he is a Palace player. They have got one centre-half at least now. And I know you love a Mercedes Vito story as well. Sky and others are filming it. And Mercedes Vito has just pulled up outside Liverpool's offices in London. So everyone's like, who's getting out? Who's getting in? Give me the Vito latest.
I had you more as a Nuts magazine kind of guy, to be honest with you. But hey, it's all beautiful images one way or the other. Let's get to the Harvey Elliott stuff if we could, Dave, because everyone's going to want to know what's happening there. Oh, super chatter. Thanks, Joseph. Much appreciated.
Yeah, I was thinking, you sent us a sticker, Joseph. I was waiting for your question. So if you are, ask me more about the facts of life, I'll tell you on another show.